Hi everyone, Happy New Year from Good Data, one analytics platform for AI, people, and agents. I'm Peter, I'm a field CTO in Good Data, and today I will join this fireside chat with two great AI engineers, Vojta Bartos and Chris Bonilla. Hey Vojta, hey Chris.
Hey Peter.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Hey, how was your holidays? We had some time. Have you done some white coding? What have you been reading on AI? What's on your mind? Going into the new year.
At the end of the year, I was mostly working on MCP and agentic workflows, so was looking deeper into that field and especially with agent skills coming out, what can be done in that space to improve our agents.
Cool. Let's talk about the MCP and the skills today. How about you, Vojta? What have you been up to?
So, especially with recent announcement of the virtual sandboxes, I thought it would be a great idea to kind of, during the holiday look into the sandboxes. Looks like it's hot topic how to run, LLM generated code safely somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, that's very useful for agentic analytics. I also been looking into agents, doing a lot of playing during the Christmas, and I want to discuss with you, where here in Good Data we see the value in agents versus what we see are becoming the commodities, and a lot of things around the context and the context layer. I have been reading a lot of good things about the context graphs, so that I hope we will have some time today to discuss also that. But let's start with the MCP. Hey, Chris, what do you have for us?
I think many of us have spent a good part of a year at least hearing MCP this, MCP that, and there are tons of MCP servers for everything now. And basically, now we're at that point of, okay, we are able to guide the LLM to use these tools, but can the LLM actually use them properly? Does it have the knowledge that it needs to effectively do the work that it needs without some manual intervention or some humans in the loop? And so for that, I think what I was reading over the holidays about the agent skills, this comes very into play because then you have these special domain things that are specializing what the tool should do rather than some general capabilities.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe if we step back, that's a very interesting, topic of the skills, and I would love to learn more. I was also reading one very interesting article yesterday that I would like to share with you later on. But maybe can you tell us a little bit about the MCP? Like, what is it? What's its role in the agentic, analytics, and what are the some of the use cases that you use MCP or our customers in the data use MCP for?
Internally, this is used from our AI platform. So it's the, let's say, standard USB port that anything can plug into. And so our AI chatbot, if some customer of ours wants to set up some alerts for some metric, we have a whole MCP story. Is kind of how we like to think about them rather than tools. And so this will help the agent create these alerts and set it all up properly for the user. And moving further onto the agentic workflows that we're doing now, in these workflows, we're seeing the same exact thing. We're able to easily connect to the server and not worry about the concerns about how to talk to the backend services, how to do certain things. And the agent itself is able to uh, move forward and perform what's necessary to get to its goal.
Okay, so if I understand it correctly, the agent can use MCP to work with all of the functions that good data offer to its users, human users.
Yes,
Yeah,
basically.
creating logical data model, creating metrics, creating visualizations, right? Running analysis, running alerts, and so on.
Yeah, and the other thing I should add is that this is all behind, let's say, it's integrated into the platform
Hmm.
behind our gateway, and so all of the things that you normally get as a user out of the box, you have them here too. So everything's authenticated. There's no actions that are being done,
Okay.
that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do.
Okay, so what should I do if I want to start working with Good Data's MCP inside my cursor dev environment or inside my, cloud code?
Well, you'll first want to go to our documentation. We have some great stuff there from our doc team, and essentially you will edit, let's say if you're in Cursor, you'll go into the Cursor settings, go to MCP, and it's as simple as putting the endpoint there, the workspace that you want to work in, and your API token.
Okay, so just connecting to a URL and I should be done, and agent now can work with all of the functionality that
Yep, it's that simple.
cool. You mentioned also skills, and I really like I really like the terminology of the skills. Maybe, can you tell us in a sentence or two about what's this new concept? I know that Anthropic actually came with the skills, as they are also the creator or behind the MCP. So, what are skills? How we should think about skills?
So I think the best way to think about skills, and this may be from Anthropic themselves, is as a package. It's a bundle of how the agent should perform a certain specific task. So, for example, if the agent needs to summarize some financial report, there's a skills.md file in this bundle,
Mhm.
which it will pick up and go from there and read in instructions. And there may be some extra things in there, like some scripts. Could be some Python script, which would be executed. And I think this is also where what Vojta was talking about earlier about the sandboxes comes into play, because now you're giving not just the ability to call some tool, but you're actually able to execute some code and have a greater level of determinism here.
Okay, so I should be thinking about it as a higher level abstraction of the tools. It's not only like one call, but it's a richer description of, how to achieve some particular, you know, goal, or how to gain some skills. Yeah, like,
Yes.
yeah, analyzing data. Cool. So when you mention like, MCP's USB port, I love the analogy. I was reading a very interesting article just yesterday that mentions skills from Ethan Malik. We'll share it here. I'll definitely recommend it to read it. And he's mentioning the parallel that I like, and I was using for a couple of weeks right now. Where skills are like this port in a matrix, which Neo plugs into its neck and it learns kung fu, right? So in that should be the ease of teaching your agents new skills, right? And the advantage of the skills, I encourage you to read the article one more time, is that, when you build these agents, right, a lot of your agents actually want to reuse the same skills and you don't want to repeat in their system prompt like how to use the skills. You want to be consistent, right? So one thing is the
Mhm.
consistency of the skills. Another one is context compression, right? Because these agents, instead of like giving them all the skills in their system prompt, and then the system prompt actually, leaks out of the context, the agent can actually pull in the skill definition only when they need it, right? So you're also saving some tokens on your system prompt, which is a very interesting concept, right? And I think, this is also how we are thinking about our agentic platform in Good Data, where we are starting with the MCP as this unit of, tools, then wrapping them into higher level skills, and then basically giving the skills to their agents, right? So that sounds like a, very interesting feature.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you hit the nail on the head there with, as you said, it's no longer really about the LLM itself so much. We have so many flavors nowadays. They're all pretty good, some better at one thing than another. And so, really, what we want to focus on now is that specialization
Yeah.
that you can plug in, as you said, like Neo in the Matrix and load some superpower.
Yeah, yeah. And this is, by the way, how we are building our agents, right? When I was looking into the recent agents that we have, built in our platform recently, it was, composed. Every agent was composed from a different skills, right? One agent that analyzed and summarized a report has a trend analysis skills and a document research skills and summarization skills. And Then we had another one which creates a recommendation for all the anomalies that it sees in the data, and it has a different set of skills. Some of them are, common and they are reused across the agents, and some of them are specific for that agent, like providing a suggestion about how to handle a specific anomalies in the data. So it's a very exciting. It's a very exciting. Anything else on the skills, or you mentioned that skills are tightly related to sandboxes. So I was thinking that would be a very interesting time to also switch to and maybe discuss about why sandboxes are important in agentic analytics, and what they are, and how you can actually leverage them for automating your work with agents.
So uh, right now, as Chris mentioned, uh, you know, especially with Cursor and Claude, the AI can pretty nicely can generate code, and in this age of vibe coding, uh, LM can practically generate anything, anything what you want to make it happen. And it's really important to make sure that anything what LM generates can be trusted, right? You need to make sure that you can run that code somewhere safely.
Yeah.
Not ideally not part of your infrastructure, because LLM can actually generate, can hallucinate, and with issues of prompt injection, etc., can actually somebody can inject bad prompt into your prompt and generate some really bad code which can be run into your in your infrastructure.
Hmm.
So the sandboxes is not something new. I mean, Vercel, I think in the November released the Vercel sandboxes, but there has been startups before like check E2B, where you can easily spin off safe sandbox, and you can run the untrusted code as part of the sandbox and just get the result. So it can be part of your AI workflow. So you can have LLM prompt, which is going to generate the code for execution what you like to have. So for example, I was playing during the Christmas about being able to generate some kind of analysis what customer wanted,
Hmm.
right? So you guys mentioned trend recommendations. So I
Hmm.
was kind of thinking that user could describe what they would like to look into data by pure language, and we could actually prompt and ask LM to generate the Python code or whatever code to actually, you know, run the analysis and get the result. So it can be pretty nicely, you define, hey, this is the data frame, what's coming in, and the result should be, if there is some anomaly detected, whatever, and point us to specific time frames in the data, what happened, and
Okay.
and we could actually generate the body of the function, but we need to make sure that we can run it service somewhere, right? So the Vertex and boxes and E2B is kind of providing that framework where you can easily spin up safe, isolated environment where you can run untrusted code. You
Okay.
can run it. You can limit the resources. So, you make sure that it won't produce a lot of memory, won't be running forever. And then you get the result. So your AI workflow will be looking like, you have an element for generating code and then passing it to the sandbox for the execution and getting the result.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, that's pretty much it. So I was able to build some easy prototype when customers can actually inject their code into the function, or they can ask LLM to provide the analysis what they would like to run.
Okay.
And yeah,
So we should think about it. Let me summarize it. We should be thinking about it like that. Agents and LLMs can write code today, but inherently they are not able to execute this code because they need some computer, right? But they need us. So for the code they write, they need a small computer, which is isolated from everything else to make sure it's a safe, right? Where they execute this code and then they read the results of that code.
exactly.
Okay. And they probably need to be a very scalable computers, right? A small and a scalable, because you will have we'll see hundreds and hundreds of the agents that are very rapidly writing this code and need to execute, and they need to test this code. So okay.
Exactly. So on each sandbox, you can actually limit the resources. So
Hmm.
you can make sure that the LLM won't generate a code which is going to be running forever and consuming a lot of memory or whatever resources you give it. So, obviously your bill won't get huge, so you can nicely limit it, and you can also time it out. So make sure that it's gonna finish in certain time. which is really important for the analysis. And if you like to plug in into the agent, right, you don't have running agent forever. Yeah, that's possible.
Okay. So the sandbox, when we in Good Data run our agents and they run some analysis, some machine learning model, some trend analysis, some key driver analysis, should I think about the sandbox, our AI-like technology, which not only stores multimodal data for, structured and unstructured data, but it also offers the compute for these agents. So every time our agents are performing key driver analysis, anomaly detection, and they spin up this small sandbox in our AI like, that would be the similar technology that we are seeing popping around from, the Vercel just launched one, but I think all the major players do have their AI sandboxes these days.
Exactly. I mean, at the moment we are running our proprietary write code, etc. But once we kind of, I mean, it's a plan. Once we allow to be running LLM, LLM generated code as part of our infrastructure, not our part of infrastructure, but on top of our data, or just user typing some code in a notebook, it's the sandbox is the get-go product to actually use either Vercel sandboxes or E2B or something similar.
Yeah, or good data like for all the analytics, code and workloads. Cool. Um, That's all very interesting. I want to share with you like what I have been thinking about during the Christmas, and it also pops up in a lot of discussion with our customers at the end of the year and also with the beginning of the year. Originally 2025 was called the year of agents, right? And now 2026 is called the year of agents. But what we actually see, is 2025, I think everyone did a lot of experimentation with agents, right? Everyone was learning, what are the agents, how to design agents, where are the caveats. And now, 2026, it seems we accumulated all this knowledge. But what we are hearing from the business leaders is that this year will be, I would call it, the year of a context. And maybe 2027 will be finally the year of the agents. And I'll tell you why, because a lot of leaders realized that, before you can go fully agentic, you actually need to have a very, good foundation for the context, right? Context is the king in the agentic, right? And now most of the attention actually goes into making sure that you can build this rich, not only and in the data, not only like a semantic layer where you have a very detailed description of the data, but the additional layers that will actually extend the semantic layer into the context layer, right? Because you don't only want to describe the data, you also want to provide the instruction, how to interpret the data, the guiding principles, the guardrails, right? Then you want to bring a lot of unstructured data into the stack. So, these agents can actually read a lot of metric definitions, right? And, information about how to interpret this data from the external documents. And you take all of this information, and you need to have a single place where you collect it, where you manage it, where you govern it, and where your agents have a safe access, and only then you can go into agentic. So that's a very interesting trend that we are observing with our customers. And I'm happy that we spent the whole 2025 building within the good data this rich multi-layer or multi-layer context infrastructure, where you can bring your semantic model, but also where you can bring the AI memory, as we call it, which are all the guiding principles, and the analytics catalog, where you do all of your governance, and the compression layer and the observability layer through which you can actually monitor how agents are working with the context. Because now, we are in a very good position to actually go into the agentic in 2026 and 2027 and beyond. And one interesting article that I have recently is about context graphs. So that's something that I also wanted to share with you today, because it shows that agents won't be only about how they interpret the data and all the instructions, but also referencing all the decision traces. that happened in the past, right? Why we made this exception, right? How are we as a company actually making decision in that particular case? So there was a very, I hope that our listeners today will be heavily thinking about the context layer as they go into their full agentic analytics, but also they get inspired by the context graphs, which collects additional type of information, making sure that these agents can provide and perform a consistent decisions in the um, you know um, in their execution path. So let me just share this document with you here. It's from Jaya Gupta, right? It's a very nice article explaining, the importance of the context layer and then the evolution of the context layer into the context graphs and how it all plays a very significant role in the agentic analytics and agentic workflows in general. So, how about we conclude with one demo? I would like to show you something. There's one more thing that I have been, tinkering with during the Christmas, and I was thinking a lot about where will be the value in the agentic. So, what do you think about the demo? Do you want to see something?
Sure. I have one
Yeah.
addition to to stuff that
Oh,
you've been talking about. You said that 25 was about agents, 26 is about agents as well. I feel I feel that 25 was about everybody's trying something and figuring out how to do it. And there haven't been set certain patterns in 25, and I think a lot of them kind of been developed. I think 26 would be about actually applying them
yeah.
because agents are totally new. I mean, 25 and 26 will be about, let's try those new patterns and see if they works and get something really working. Yeah, that's pretty much what I
Very
would
true.
add.
Yeah, that's very true. And you see, like a lot of infrastructure is being built, right? Which is one thing that I wanted to show you because I have been thinking heavily during the Christmas where in agentic analytics, where is a true value and what are the commodities, right? And my assumption going into Christmas was LLMs are commodities, right? And one of the things that actually underpins this was, shortly after Christmas, Meta, which owns its own LLM, actually acquiring Manus, right? Showing that, what is more important is how you can, LLM is a commodity, but, what is more important is what you can actually do on this agentic layer, right? And then, over 20, exactly as you Vojta mentioned, over 2025, we have seen a lot of tools being built, on the agentic workflows, on the observability layer, right? So when I think about agentic workflow, having tools like Temporal, OpenAI came with their agentic workflow builder. It seems like this is also becoming the commodities. And what we see from our customers is that they wanna um, keep some distance from these workflows. And they obviously don't want to, it's too early for them to lock in, right? Like where you will be running all of your agents. You don't want to make a decision too early to actually go with a particular technology and then feel stuck, right? So this is also becoming, in some sense, commodity. But where we see a real value is exactly in these three things that we have discussed today. No matter if you build agent um, with the um, with the Claude or with the Llama or with the ChatGPT, right? And no matter what kind of orchestration layer or orchestration workflow engine you use, they will have a similar capabilities. What will distinguish your agents is what kind of context you provide to them, what kind of skills you will give to these agents, and what kind of infrastructure they have at their disposal. Because they need to know as much as possible about your business. They need to have a rich set of capabilities to actually do something for you, right? Maybe develop a metric, maybe run some analysis, maybe create some visualization, maybe send you a Slack notification, maybe ask for your approval, right? And then the last but not the least is the infrastructure. Will they be actually limited by the infrastructure, or will they have all of this infrastructure which is safe and scalable at their disposal? So they can create and they can actually automate all of this work at their at scale. And this is something that what I wanted to show you. So I was let's go here and let me share my screen one more time. I want to show you one demo. I was playing around with the Agentic builder from OpenAI because I really like the interface, and my assumption was I want to create an analytical agent within 1 minute, right? And I want it to be able to answer a very difficult questions, but with a very high level of accuracy in another under 1 minute, right? Do we have the AI in a state that I'm actually able to do it, right? And I won't answer to you, but I want to show you something. So this is a very basic agent that I built, right? This is a actually uh, I skip all of the guardrails, I skip all of the decision traces. I just drag and drop one agent here into this agentic workflow. I'm a business user, so I provided it with an instruction what I want this agent to do, and this is the very important thing. I connected it to three resources coming from good data. The first one is a good data context resources. So this is me as Chris mentioned at the beginning, took this USB port and plug in this agent into a good data, giving it all the information that is available into my workspace, coming from all of these context layers, all the guard layers, all the memory information, all the knowledge, all the analytical catalogs, and all the semantic models. So everything that is available about my data, all the instruction, all the guard layers, everything. I connect it to one more resource, which are the skills. So what this agent can actually do inside the good data, right? So now it's turning from a plain agent into an agent that can actually create metric, fetch the catalog, run some analysis, write some analytical code, and then obviously last but not least, I give it access to the resources, to good data compute, where it can actually calculate something, where it can run queries, right? And this is something that I can do under 1 minute. And this is all, nothing else today. I need to create in Agentic, to create my first agent. I have this tools. I can use whatever tool to build the agent, right? And I'll just plug in, I'll give it the instructions and I'll connect it to these three good data resources. Now I have one question here that I want to test, right? So I go to play and I ask it the question. I'm connected to a finance workspace with some financial data that I have available. What customers are eligible for another loan? Give me top 10 names and the related values. And you see that this is not like analyze my Excel or create a one visualization. This is really a business question that the business user would ask that requires understanding the data model, actually executing some analysis, having some infrastructure at their disposal, and then coming up with a very good, answer and the explanation how this answer was achieved. So I'll run the agent, right? And now it starts interacting with, all of the good data's resources. So it's looking at what kind of metrics I have available at my disposal. Maybe it's going to write a new metric, right? If we don't have anything that would actually explain what is the eligibility of the customers, you know. So now we see it's defining loan eligibility. It's gonna, write some analysis. It's gonna query the data. It's gonna execute this analysis, and then it's gonna interpret the results, right? And so let's give it a few more seconds, and let's see what kind of analysis we will get from this agent, where I haven't done anything, right? Remember, just connected it to good data resources. We need to have some nice music at the background, while it's working. This is not a plain question. This is something that agent needs a little more time to actually figure out. Okay, so we are after a couple of for a few seconds, and we actually see that the agent came up with the results. There was a 62 total eligible customers. I was asking for a top 10, so it's giving me top 10 customers with some additional details. All the numbers are actually coming from a good data, right? They are not made up. This is the result of the deterministic query coming from the good data. It's telling me how the results were actually achieved, right? So I can verify the thinking process behind this analysis. It's explaining me what kind of metrics it used. So now here it's leaning into our semantic model where you see that it's using some of the predefined metrics like active loans count, total loans, customer total balance, total principal amount, number of accounts. And it also includes the metric definitions in our, Mako language. So you can actually verify, how these metrics are calculated. Again, not made up. This is something coming from our context layer. It's giving me the data sample that I actually ask for, right? So I see again the sample of the customers, so I can verify where the data are coming from, and then the analysis explanation. So some of the details, some of the more advanced details about the code it actually written, and how it was interpreted. So again, just under 1 minute, going from a nothing to an analytical agent, just by connecting to a good data resources, and then another minute that I was able to, verify that this agent is actually, performing the analysis on top of my data and my context layer. Pretty
One
cool.
quick question. One quick question. Does it allow to actually show you the code what has been actually executed for the transparency purposes? So
Absolutely. So absolutely, and this is something that you either configure in a skills where you say how that when it had the coding skills, what it should do at the end, right? So I instructed it to actually not output the whole code intentionally. I asked it to actually explain the code one by line, which was the last section. But it's the beauty of the skills, or that's the beauty of the instructions, that you can actually especially with the skills, you can actually have a consistent way how your agents are analyzing the data and how they're interpreting the results, right? So no matter which agent you actually equipped with that skill, they will consistently, explain the code to you. Or explain the queries to you, or provide you the sample of the query, for all the querying skills that we have, or always explain to you all the metrics, including the metrics definition when you include the metric development, or like metric usage skills.
yeah, I mean the transparency is super important. As we heard from multiple from customers, they would like to not see the magic black box, but they would like to really know what's happening, and so they can actually verify what is being outputted out of the agents, LLM, whatever.
Yeah, and obviously I'm using a agentic workflow outside of the good data, which provides a rich observability, but all the agents that we run inside the good data will, have by default everything, going in and out of the LLM's trace. So you have this rich observability capabilities where you can go in and you see, what were agents doing, how they were deciding, and then trace it back to the individual data points. Cool. That was pretty cool. Thank you guys. I enjoyed a lot this discussion. I hope you learned something new today. I definitely learned a lot of new things today, and I hope also all of our listeners will find it valuable. So, thanks for your attention, and if you have any questions, please reach out. Thank you guys. Have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Cheers.